Sometimes when I get a new avatar and I want to edit it, I notice that the creator already added all the physbones and the colliders, and I think that's pretty cool, but I personally don't like working with physbone colliders because sometimes they can mess up really strangely. For example, in this case, when I move around the character, you can see how the front part of the scarf does interact with the colliders on the hips, but it kind of clips into the avatar and it bounces a little bit when it interacts with the collider. Now, there might be a way of fixing that, but I am very lazy. So I'm gonna show you how I fix it instead. So I go into the object that has the physbone component, I go to the component, and I just straight up remove the colliders because I'm not gonna be working with them. Instead, I'm gonna use the limits. Choose the one that best fits your case. I usually prefer using polar because it does give me the most control out of the three options. In this case, what I want is for the scarf to be able to move freely any direction except the direction that the body is in, which luckily we can do easily if we move the pitch rotation. We'll move it back a little bit and you can see how the scarf is moving. You can also see how the gizmos are rotating with it. And so what I like to do is I move it until the scarf is barely outside of the body, and then I push it a little bit more. So now the scarf may not be able to move more downwards so that it won't clip to the body, but we also don't want it to just be floating there, so let's fix that. So if we click the C button that's right here, this allows us to modify the values with curves. So we're gonna open the pitch curve and modify this. Check this out, as you move from left to right on the curve, you're actually affecting the values from the first to the last object in the physbone chain. So if I modify something to the right, you can see how the physbones at the end of the chain are the most affected, while the ones earlier on the chain are the least affected. We can use this to our advantage. I like deleting all of the keys in the curve except one, right-clicking, and both tangents constant. And now I'm gonna add a new key. If I grab this new key and I move it to the right and I move it down, you can see how it's only affecting that last bone in the chain. If I move it to the left, now it's affecting those last two in the chain. If I move it more to the left, it affects the next one and the next one, and now you get the idea. We're gonna use this to modify each individual bone just like that. I'm gonna move it there so that this is barely above the body. I add a new key and I move it until I'm affecting the next bone in the chain. And I do the same thing. Now I'm gonna add another one. Do the same thing. Add another one, move it to the right. Push it a little bit. Another one. And there you go. I'm gonna move to the other side of the body, and I noticed that there is still a gap, but don't worry, we can fix that. Just move around the values individually until you find something that works best. And there we go. Okay, now let's test it out. And as you can see, no matter how strongly I move it forward, it's not actually clipping with the avatar, and it's not bouncing around either. It's just steady right there. I can move it left to right, and it has motion. I can move it back, and it has motion. And all is well in the world. I use this technique a lot with physbones. You can actually use it with pretty much anything that allows you to have a curve, which is, I think it's everything here. So that's pretty handy. Alright, that's it. I hope this was helpful.